everybody, and welcome to the return of Post Pro Res. I'm John Pollock, reunited with one WH Park. Hello, WH. It's been too long.
It's been a month, maybe.
Has it only been a month? I feel like it's been 6. That's how much news we have to talk about today.
It feels, yeah, there's a lot of things to talk about. I was having a similar conversation when MCU Later came back with Way. He was like, it's been like close to a month. And I said, it's been exactly a month since we did MCU Later. But that's back in full force now, so it's all good.
It's that separation from WH Park. It feels so much longer than it actually is.
Some people wouldn't necessarily agree with you there, John, but I appreciate you saying so.
Well, we have a lot to dive into. In fact, a rare month, WH, that has produced a new IWGP champion, a new Triple Crown champion, and a new GHC champion.
Yeah, it's, and like of those 3, like, 2 of those feel fresh. One doesn't feel as fresh, but hey, it's better than what was happening before.
Well, we're going to hit on all of those. And I mean, this just feels like a very dated news by this point, but you and I have not discussed it. And that is Shingo Takagi winning the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, defeating Kazuchika Okada earlier this month. And just the idea of Shingo Takagi ascending to this role, WH, I mean, was this something that when he came into the company that you thought like there was going to be that ceiling for Takagi that would limit his trajectory to get to this level as heavyweight champion?
I see him being the IWGP champion as something that I wanted to see as a fan of his since his Dragon Gate days. But realistically, there were so many barriers because he came in as a junior, though I never thought that he was going to stay a junior forever because like he had proven himself to be very capable of mixing with heavyweights and other promotions, doing interpromotional stuff. But the other thing that I thought was going to really hamper him was that he was a Dragon Gate guy. He came from the Dragon Gate system and he wasn't a New Japan guy. But I mean, that hasn't stopped other people from becoming IWGP champion. But, I thought from like his first foray into the G1, I thought, okay, there is a distinct possibility that he will turn heads in the company to the point where they will say, okay, you know what? You can have a run with the title. Now, my question is this a transition phase? Is he a transitional champion or are they going to go with him for the long term? I think he would be great as a long-term champion because he's proven that he can be a successful one in terms of the box office for Dragon Gate. So I think he can bring that same success to New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Well, it certainly comes at a period where I think you have to look at this outcome that, they could have gone with the reliable choice of just putting the title on Okada. I thought it was like the more bold move going with Shingo. And I mean, ultimately it's going to be that like, what kind of title reign is this? And you're going into such I'm going to call it a tumultuous summer for New Japan because I am stunned at some of their booking decisions, not so much storyline wise, but physical booking of buildings that they are going to throughout July and into August. Like this, I guess New Japan did not get the memo that the Olympics are starting.
No. Again, like this schedule that they have, it just tells me that they are so desperate to make up for lost revenue from last year that they're just going full steam ahead without any consideration of what's actually happening in Japan, regardless of the Olympics. Like just the whole idea, like the COVID is really, out of control over there. And like vaccination is such a far away reality for most of the population.
We've got, as we're speaking now, we got the resumption of the Kizuna Road Tour that's going to continue this week. And then the Summer Struggle Tour, which it might in fact be, they're going to run back-to-back nights in Hokkaido on July 10th and 11th. Pretty sizable venue that they are running. They've announced Desperado and Taiji Shimori for the first night on the 10th, and then Zack Sabre Jr. and Taichi against Naito and Sonata for the tag titles on the 11th. And the crazy stretch comes later in July when we've got back-to-back nights in Osaka at Edion Arena, July 24th in Nagoya, and then their fourth show in as many nights, July 25th at the Tokyo Dome, 2 days after the Olympics have begun. And on top of that, we have booked the MetLife Dome for September 4th and 5th. So they are just going full out with some of their arenas and stadiums that they are booked. And we are going to get an enormous amount of stadium shows this year from New Japan, all told.
I mean, I would think this is an ambitious, tour with these dates, with these venues. If like there was no COVID and if they had their full, roster at full strength, as it is, like I don't know what they're thinking. Like the MetLife Dome, that's the Seibu Dome, correct?
Which you did go to for the finals, did you not, in 2014?
I did, yeah.
This was when the monsoon was about to hit, right?
Oh no, it hit.
It hit, yes.
While I was at the show, yeah. And fortunately, I was on the side that the wind was not blowing all the water into the arena because it's an open air, venue because it's a baseball stadium. Like that was a fun day. I will say this, John, it's probably the second most comfortable like G1 finals I've ever attended in terms of like the temperature, where I wasn't feel like I was going to die from heat stroke. So
it's got that going for it, but not the most accessible venue, correct?
No, God no. Like you have to take like from Tokyo alone, it's like an hour, and then it's like on a local train. There's no express. Like I wouldn't really think of going to like MetLife Dome to be like something as a like if I was thinking as an excursion with my friends to watch wrestling, it'd be like should we go out there? Maybe we have to make it an overnight stay to make it worthwhile and do other things while we're there, just to go for these shows. I don't know. Like, and what are they going to put in there? Like, who knows? Like, I can't see anything drawing like even half the capacity of that place because it's massive.
Yeah. I mean, that's the other factor to all of these shows is that by the time they come, we don't know what the restrictions are going to be. If it's going to be this 5,000 cap, if that's somewhat going to be relaxed. And you're talking again, back-to-back nights in Osaka, like that's not just like throwing on your, some multi-man tags to facilitate a show, ditto for Nagoya. And then, the Tokyo Dome in the midst of the Olympics, it just seems like that is a brutal date to be opting to run a Tokyo Dome, no matter what the restrictions are or what you're doing. I just think you're going to have such divided attention on top of the vaccination issues that you've outlined as well. The Tokyo Dome, which we know at least is going to be Shingo and Kota Ibushi, but I just think this is a real ambitious run that it just seems like they are at the mercy of the scheduling, that this is not designed for like optimal booking or being able to attract people to all of these shows. I mean,
I think with the Olympics, like people are just probably going to want to just stay home to watch that and not bother, because the attitude towards the Olympics is like that thing was like so like anticipated in Japan while I was there, John. Like the summer before the Olympics were supposed to be scheduled for last year, like I just remember so much excitement about it. And like when the tickets were on sale and like, oh my God, they're like in the thousands of dollars, these prices, but people wanted them. There was lotteries for that. There was like, a palpable excitement for the Olympics. Like I think I would imagine it's carried over, even like all the restrictions that you have for watching it, and with all, like with the athletes and everything, that, people not really going to care about like a product. Let's be honest, like a product that's pretty stale right now. And I love Shingo as champion, but like, overall it's a pretty stale, promotion right now. I don't think there's that much excitement in the mid card for New Japan. And like, I don't see anyone really spending the money to go to the Tokyo Dome to hang out with like maybe 3,000 people, maybe 2,000 people like in the Tokyo Dome. That would not be any fun at all. Let's be honest.
Well, and going back to our first discussion about Shingo, I mean, do you look at this and can New Japan separate that, this schedule is what it is, or does this become like a negative mark on Shingo's reign, that he's going to be kind of your focal point in going into all of these events? I don't care who your champion is. I think it's going to be a massive struggle. But for Shingo, I mean, there's going to be all eyes on his performance. And I hope that can be deciphered from what he's being thrust into, because I wouldn't envy any brand new champion being thrown into this mix.
No, I mean, if you want to go back to the first point we talked about with Shingo being the champion, John, like, I mean, you could easily just make post the theory that, like Okada is Geto's boy. He's always been Geto's boy. So Geto's like realizing I got the schedule to deal with that the office is throwing on me, and I got to fill it out with all these cards and stuff like that. Well, I don't want my boy to look bad. So maybe Shingo is the scapegoat for like the poor business that this is likely to do this whole tour leading up to the September 4th and 5th shows. If by some miracle they do pretty good business, then it's definitely a feather in Shingo's cap. But if it does poorly, then I do think he's going to shoulder some of the blame for it, and it might affect any future considerations for being the champion again down the line.
And this is coming at a time when New Japan is cold. I mean, even with restrictions and such, like you're looking at, I mean, just look at what All Japan drew the other day at Oda Ward Gymnasium and compare that to like what New Japan's putting in at Korakuen Hall and such. Like it just, to me, they've overrun that market to such a degree. I think it's just complete fatigue on the New Japan product.
Complete fatigue on the people's wallets too. Like you can't afford to go to these shows like ad nauseum, like especially at Korakuen Hall. Like, I mean, I can't remember what the ticket prices are these days, but like just say the cheapest ticket is probably like, I don't know, John, like $30, $40. You can't keep doing that every week to go to these shows. Like at some point, even your most hardcore New Japan fan is going to be like my budget is taxed. And there's nothing on these cards that makes me want to go.
It's a double-edged sword too, because you're drawing from such a lesser amount of people and you're trying to make some of this money back that you have to be able to charge a certain amount. And it's almost like trying to get the most out of your most loyal audience. And that's going to be diminishing returns. And I think we're seeing that played out. Like these are historically low numbers at Korakuen Hall for New Japan.
I mean, with that being said, I'm really curious as to what this resurgence show in America is going to do. Have you seen the ticket prices for this, John? They're pretty funny.
They are scaling this like this is a massive like New Japan card, like in the heyday when they were running Long Beach and such.
I mean, I don't know what the drawing power of Tom Lawler is. I like Tom Lawler, but I don't think he's worth $300 unless he's fighting Jon Moxley. But even then, I wouldn't pay like the cheapest ticket is $40. Okay, that's what I might pay to see an indie show, which is what this is.
Well, it's all built around Strong with like your big star on it being Jon Moxley, which I guess is notable. The fact that Jon Moxley can do a US date with fans. Strong is a show that I need to be following more because on paper, it always looks like a really entertaining show. I like the format that it's an hour, your 3 matches. But yeah, you're running a venue that it's an adjustable venue. So they have like this flex between like 5,000 and 10,000 people that they can fit towards this. But I would say if they could ever draw 5,000, that would be a huge feather in the cap, given that this is not a New Japan proper show with, your native stars.
And I don't even know if like you could draw like 5,000 with your native stars, depending on the card, like who you got, what kind of matches you have. But with the Strong roster, and there's nothing wrong with it. Like when I get to find time to watch Strong, I do enjoy it. I think
they're very good shows, like some great talent there. But it's
great. It's a great crew, a solid roster. But that's something I would try to fill. Like 500, maybe a 1,000-seat venue would be my
I would have piggybacked off of SummerSlam the following weekend, whether it be in LA or Vegas. I think like that. I think you would have had a better opportunity for like your Friday night as a alternative to SmackDown that New Japan puts on a card, and you've got Moxley there.
Yeah, I suppose like making poor business decisions is something that carries over the Pacific Ocean.
I want to talk about some positive elements of the past couple of weeks. I've really enjoyed the trial series, particular with Yuya Uemura. His match with Hiroshi Tanahashi, I love that match, WH. I thought it was just fantastic. And this week, they're doing 2 Korakuen Hall dates, July 1st and 2nd. They're free shows. And on the 2nd, we're going to get Ibushi versus Yota Tsuji and Shingo Takagi against Yuya Uemura, which I'm very excited for.
Oh, those sound like fucking bangers, dude. I like the Tanahashi match that Uemura had. I loved the Ibushi match he had. I thought, my God, like Ibushi just was like in full like senpai dickhead mode, and it was beautiful. And I can just see down the line, maybe, if they want to kind of build up Uemura, put him as the tag partner Ibushi. Like he can say, like, I like you. You can be my tag partner. We're gonna go for those tag team titles at some point. I
am not making the Hirai Kawato mistake of just investing into someone to such a degree and then just getting Master Wato in response. But man, I'm so high on Uemura. I just think this guy is fantastic. And I dread him getting some going nowhere gimmick, which now that we're a year removed, can we look back at Master Wato and for all the haha of when this guy came back as Master Wato? I mean, awful character.
Terrible. I mean, Great Okan is not much better, except that he actually gets a push. So there is that for him. Yeah, I mean, my kind of philosophy about the young lions is like, I enjoy them when they're young lions and then just, hope and pray they're not saddled with some stupid gimmick. We'll see. It looks like Shota Umino is going to be spared that. It looks like he's just going to come back as like kind of a, the kind of a Tanahashi, clone kind of with the kind of gear he's wearing. And we'll see what happens with Ren Narita, but like, I'm enjoying these two as young lions and I just enjoy the moment with them, as it were, John.
Where's your kind of prognosis on Yota Tsuji?
Yota Tsuji, I think he's going to be a massive like heel for the company. He's got that look. He just has that natural face for being a heel.
I think he's going to grow into, I think you can see like the building blocks that, in 5 years, this guy could be kind of that, I don't want to say like monster heel, but I think he's certainly I think he's going to even grow more into the role that I think people can see bits of right now.
But Uemura has like got that kind of babyface fire that I see, in like Kenta Kobashi back when he was like the same age.
There's no one I love to see fight for that rope more than Yuya Uemura.
But with Tsuji, like I was really pleasantly surprised with his match against Zack Sabre Jr. because like he showed a lot of like great technical ability with like some of the kind of the Mexican, wrestling submissions he was using, and I was like, oh, he's actually really technically sound too. That would be that when you have a really technically sound heel, especially in Japan, John, it makes for a really great, compelling character.
Yeah, as always, the Young Lions consistently just great to follow along with, and I've really enjoyed the trial series of late. And this week's show on Friday, those two matches look can't miss. Let's move on over to Pro Wrestling Noah, because I have waited for several weeks, because now we have the conclusion. We can now do the full screening conclusion on the Keiji Muto experiment. He drops the GHC Championship to rising star, future of the company, 41-year-old now Michi Marufuji. I will say, WH, I think you might have won this one.
Oh, that is not going to really play out and it's going to be complete shit in the end? Yeah, I think so.
I was stunned. I won't say stunned, but I was pretty surprised when I saw this result and it was Marufuji getting this. I certainly, when it started, I was definitely more on the pro side of, listen, I totally understand why they're doing this with Muto. As the title defenses progressed, I realized, okay, the window is closing quickly on the novelty of this. And to end it with this Marufuji, I was like, okay, I think that this is one where you could certainly look at, like, where do you go with Muto after this?
Apparently, lighting your foot on fire and kicking him in the head is where you go with that, with him, apparently. Naturally. But he still won, John. He still fucking won. That's the best part of that match.
He's angling for a program with the Fiend.
I don't know if people seen this. So Muto, as the great Muto, had a match with Keno, right? At some point, Keno takes lighter fluid and he lights his kick pad on fire. So his leg is on fire, folks. Okay. And then he kicks great Muto in the head with a flaming foot. But guess what? You think that would beat somebody? Any other company, any other booker, that person Keno would win, right? No, not the fucking one run by Nosawa, the biggest Keiji Muto mark in the world.
It was his tribute. It was his tribute to the icon of Noah and the master of the burning hammer himself. We were going to honor him with the burning shin.
It's tremendous that he still won that match. But here's the thing, I look at like his title defenses, Muto's title defenses, and if you switch things around, John, okay, and you had Kitamiya challenging after he had that match with Nakajima, right? And he put in a hell of a performance there, and I think elevated himself. If you had him fight Muto and win the title for Muto after he had the cage match with Nakajima, I think that would have been a good idea.
Kiyomiya, you're saying winning.
Kitamiya, yeah. Masa Kitamiya.
Masa Kitamiya. Okay.
Not Kaito Kiyomiya. Like, Kaito Kiyomiya is like, I don't know what they're doing with him because he's on a losing streak. Maybe they're trying to build him from the ground up again. You don't need to. He's fine as he was. But with Kitamiya, like, he had that really awesome match with Nakajima, and he really elevated himself. Like, and if you put him in
at least it's a fresh face into that you're elevating. It's like I'm not gonna say anything negative about Marufuji, but it's like it's Marufuji at the end of the day, and we've gone through like months of this story with Muto. And if you're telling me from day one that this is a goal of ours is to get Marufuji to beat Muto and bring the title back, I don't know. That falls flat to me.
Well, the problem with Marufuji is that he doesn't need this win.
Not at all. Muto. Not at all. No, and there's no shortage of people that could have. Like there was Kiyomiya. There was the eventual rematch with Go. Like that, I think you could have explored if they had the patience for that. The problem was I don't know how much longer you could have continued this reign with Muto. I think there was an initial novelty to it, and the longer it went, like I think this thing was going to max out at 3 to 4 months.
It's just pointless. Like at the end of the day, it was like, it just was kind of revealed like that Muto got the title reign because Nosawa is his biggest fan and he's the booker, and he thought, I'm going to give him this gold watch reign so he can be, he can say, I've been IWGP champion, I've been the Triple Crown champion, and I've been the GHC heavyweight champion as well. That's the only reason he was given that belt, and the only reason he ended Go Shiozaki's epic reign that it should have been ended by Kaito Kiyomiya. And it's just sad. It's just really sad. It's another example of why I hate nepotism in wrestling, John.
And this guy has 19 months on a contract.
Yeah, like,
what are you gonna do?
What other you're gonna set other body parts on fire and hit him with it? Obviously.
Okay, well you can strategically map out the different body parts, and then maybe every couple of months, Great Muta comes back and he lights something on fire.
John, I mean, this is Cyber Fight, so they have access to Dashinoku Dino. He can set on fire and hit Muto with. That's all. I'm just putting that out there. That's all I'm saying. I might actually watch that DDT show if that happens.
Yeah, you very well could see some of that. I have not had a chance to see the cage match, the first cage match in Noah history that took place on Saturday. That will go down in history as drawing 0 people, but obviously an asterisk next to that. With Katsuhiko Nakajima and Masa Kitamiya, they went over 32 minutes, with Kitamiya winning and thus shaving the head of Nakajima. First of all, secondary is your thoughts on the match. Number one, though, the shaved head for Nakajima. WH, please render your verdict.
Does not look good. I mean, part of like his charm as his current persona was that hair, was that perm, and he kind of loses a lot. But hey, the great thing about hair, John, it grows back, And I'll say this about Masa Kitamiya's initial, foray into like cutting hair. He's not as good as Davey Portman. That's all I'm going to say about that. But no.
At least he wasn't Father Jim Mitchell with Raven.
Yeah. Do
you remember that one on a TNA pay-per-view?
Vaguely, but like the image of Raven's poorly shaped head it was very similar to what Kitamiya's attempts were. And then Keno had to like Nakajima tell him, this guy's a clown, he can't do it. You finish up. And Keno's like, me? Really? And he did a much better job. Good for Keno cutting the rest of Nakajima's hair.
And Sunday's show also featured Hayata, who won the Contenders Rumble on Saturday, winning the junior heavyweight title, beating Atsushi Katoge. And did you like this story over the weekend? The elevation of Hayata?
No, cause I hate Hayata. He's pretty useless in my opinion. And here's the thing, John, about the junior division, Noah, like they have some good talent, but they have some atrocious booking. And I really don't care about this division. And it's sad because Eita from Dragon Gate jumped ship and he joined Noah and he created a new faction. But it's like, that's kind of interesting. But then I'm thinking, well, it's new Noah juniors. I really don't care.
Is there anything surrounding the GHC title picture that you find interesting that they're going in this direction? Or do you think that this was a reset to Marufuji and it kind of is just kind of putting things in place?
I don't know who they have in line to like challenge him, because like Kiyomiya's on this losing streak. It doesn't look like he's going to be challenging for the belt anytime soon. And I really don't think that would be a solution right now, having him win the title from Marufuji per se. Now I'm interested. I do think Marufuji is a really good wrestler still, even with all his injuries and stuff like that. Like, I think there's potential there. It's just like, I don't know what you do with like the roster that you have right now, with the way you've decimated them because of Muto beating a lot of them, and just how, like, I don't know, lackadaisical I feel the booking is in that company right now. I just tend to enjoy, like, you know, if they put on good matchups, then I'll watch those, and I'll try and enjoy them for what they are, and not really think about it too much. I assume like Sugiura is probably going to go for that belt again as well. I think he's the next challenger.
They've got it. Yeah. July 11th. They're doing, Marufuji and Sugiura.
I mean, I think that'll be a good match, because like Sugiura is always, like, for a guy in his 50s, John, this guy's in pretty amazing shape, and he can still go, for God's sakes. It's kind of extraordinary. Like, if you look at everyone else in his age range, it feels like he just sapped all their youth and just retained it for himself.
So over to All Japan, and they were dealt with the blow of Suwama getting a positive test for COVID-19 and thus having to vacate the Triple Crown, which he had held since March of last year. And they put it into this unique format for Saturday's show, where they were going to involve Jake Lee, who was going to challenge Suwama on that show after winning the Carnival, with Kento Miyahara and Yuma Aoyagi. And it would start off with a singles match, and whoever could get wins over both opponents first would be declared the winner. And it was Jake Lee. It started off with Kento beating Yuma Aoyagi, then Lee beating Miyahara, and then Lee beating Aoyagi in front of 1,480 at Oda Ward Gymnasium. And Jake Lee is your Triple Crown champion. I know that you were one happy man that they went with Jake Lee, finally. You've been touting this man forever.
It's great. I think it's so fresh when I watched the match and I saw him win the title, and I was just like, yes. And it just feels
I think
fresh.
this company is booking strictly for you. When I saw the results and they gave you Jake Lee and Francesco Akira, I thought, my God, they're just after your heart.
They are. Well, they've had it for a while, but like, they're just solidifying their grip on it, John. Like, Lee versus like Shitara Ashino, fresh match. For the Triple Crown, it's a fresh match. Lee versus Ishikawa for the Triple Crown, fresh match, in my opinion. Just that him being the champion just adds a new dynamic to all these matches he'll have in
Suwama,
the future.
when he comes back, like, that's a really intriguing match once Suwama comes back. I mean, hoping that he's fine from COVID and everything. Like, he should be back relatively soon. And that feels like a bigger match now, with the dynamic that Lee is now the champion and defending it against the guy he didn't technically beat for it.
And the other thing is the rematches he's going to have with Kento Miyahara and Yuma Aoyagi, because like, he beat Miyahara. It's very similar to the 97 Champion Carnival final, where like, you know, Kawada finally beat Misawa, but it's after Misawa had the 30-minute draw with Kobashi, so it's kind of a tainted win. Like, so Lee has a tainted win over Miyahara because he had a war with Aoyagi, and then he also has a tainted win over Aoyagi because even though he had wrestled Miyahara, Lee is also like, you know, Aoyagi's also wrestled before. So it's not a fresh matchup between him and either of these guys. So they can challenge down the line and it'll feel fresh, and it's a built-in storyline. But I think you're right. The best, you know, the best storyline is going to be when Suwama does come back and he's saying, I never lost that belt, and you and I have unfinished business, and I want that belt. Because I do think if Suwama didn't catch COVID and he didn't have to forfeit the belt, he would have put over Jake. He would have lost the belt to Jake at this show. But it's still more intriguing now, like, that you have this storyline going into that when he comes back.
I think All Japan has a lot of interesting stuff going on, and I was really happy to see the number that they drew for this show on top of it. Like, it seems that All Japan has some momentum behind them.
I think they've been really smart. Like, they don't try to, you know, like, try to fill their coffers with like an unreasonable schedule, and they're booking smartly around the pandemic. And yeah, I think that they just stay this course and they don't get too crazy with like, you know, title switches or like crazy characters or anything like that. I think they have a really good chance of like really elevating themselves to a level maybe closer to Pro Wrestling Noah these days.
And it looks like Gleat are they're opening their doors to work with everybody. You had like Shima with like the Strong Hearts on the undercard here.
Yeah, I mean, Shima and the Strong Hearts have been involved with All Japan for a while, and then we get the news that Gleat is going to have at least one interpromotional match with the New Japan Pro Wrestling, with the, Show taking on Gleat UWF rules guy Takanori Ito in the main event of their July 1st card. And I'm really excited about that because I really want to see Show in that environment because I think he's really going to shine.
How do you go about watching this Gleat card this week?
I don't know where it's available, but like the great thing about Gleat is that most of their stuff is free on YouTube.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed. So yeah, that looks probably will be an easy show to track down on Thursday. Yeah, but Sho and Takanori Ito is in the main event. Really intriguing. And I think it was, met with like a bit of surprise, just the fact that New Japan was sending Sho to do this show. But I think it freshens things up. I think it's a great outlet for Sho to send him out to do a match like that. And I think New Japan, they need to be thinking outside the box because they could really use a shot in the arm. Not to say this is like a game changer or anything, but to me, it's indicative of a philosophy that they're more open-minded, I think, to working with other offices.
I think New Japan's junior division at its best historically has always involved outside involvement, always had outside wrestlers coming in to work the company, whether it's from Mexico or from the United States, but particularly when they open their doors to other, Japanese promotions. And I think it's great that the quote unquote, the forbidden door is being like nudged open a bit more in Japan than it is with the American promotions. Because I think it's more beneficial to like the Japanese side of the promotion.
Let's move on over to Stardom because they had probably their biggest match to date. It seems like this was a monumental match when it came to exposure for the company with Utami Hayashishita and Syuri having their huge match, which I think has led to this big breakthrough for Stardom. And it was very interesting, WH, from The Observer this week that noted that subscriptions increased worldwide by 10% after the match was released on the service just over the past week. And Dave Meltzer went on to say, from the date of the purchase of the company by Bushiroad, Stardom World subscriptions have doubled, and the service is now looking at doing $1 million profit this year, which isn't gigantic or anything, but for a small company, that's very healthy. That's very significant. Just the fact that this match has jumped their subscriptions by 10%. I would say this, you could very well say, has been the most important match in Stardom's 10-year history, because I think that combined with the English commentary was this perfect storm for people to dive into Stardom that were maybe aware of it, but now are more invested than ever in watching it.
Yeah, and like shout out to like Stuart Fulton and Sonny Gutierrez. Like they did an amazing job. Like the thing with Sonny Gutierrez is like he runs I believe he's the person who runs the official Stardom English account on Twitter. So he's part of the company. He knows all the storylines inside and out. And matching him with Stuart Fulton, who's just doing a bang up job with Mark Pickering on the English side of like the cyber fight, shows of TJPW, Pro Signoa, and DDT. It's just like, wow. Like to me, I was like surprised to see Stuart's name on this because I was like, oh, I thought he was like have a contract with the cyber fight, but it seems like he's the kind of a free agent, can do whatever he wants, which is great news. Like to me, like this guy is the most valuable commodity as far as like trying to penetrate, into the Western market for Japanese promotions is like Stuart Fulton,
which
and
is
Mark
huge.
Pickering.
I think I think it's really huge, and this result from Stardom's business, I think, is very indicative of that.
If I'm Bushiroad, I'm like thinking, okay, we need to get, if not exclusive with him, like secure dates for his services for our big shows, and maybe look into getting, Sonny Gutierrez and another person to do regular, overdub English commentary for the shows that appear on Stardom World. Like that's something that I would like to see. The other thing I was really, happy about was that the production of this show, I think the production crew was from Samurai TV, because it looks so much better than like what they normally film for Stardom World, which is, like handheld cameras and like maybe one hard cam that doesn't move at all. And I would rather they kind of bolster their money back into production side and just try to create a more professional looking product that I think will draw more viewers. I think more viewers, if they see like, oh, this camera work is really, really good. And oh, we get English commentary on top of that. I think they can capitalize on the success of this match and just really become more popular worldwide.
Yeah. And they're doing the interesting experiment where, I mean, for this show, they ran it as a pay-per-view and then put it on Stardom World. It was like a week or so later. And that's interesting too, just to see if that's enough, if it's enough of a draw for people that, you know, you're drawing from a smaller pool that would be willing to pay for it as a one-off, which we've seen Noah doing more and more now on Fight TV, versus people that maybe don't want to commit to a subscription service, that there's other found revenue for you for those people that maybe just don't want to commit to something beyond just the one-time payment.
Yeah, but for Stardom, they really have to be careful what kind of product they offer for these kind of one-off pay-per-views. Like, Hayashishita versus Syuri was something that they built up to. And I think you can tell, like, with the booking of Syuri, especially in the last, 6-7 months, like, they're very high on her. And I think eventually she's going to ascend to that level of either becoming the white belt champion or finally winning the red belt. And then Hayashishita is just like their prodigy. And she has been for the last 3 years. Like, I can proudly say, John, I was at her debut match at Korakuen Hall, sitting right behind her entire family of like 14 siblings and her parents. And it was like, I didn't know who she was. I was just like, watched her match with Jungle Kiona. And I thought, you know what? She's got good base, good foundation of skills. She'll probably go somewhere in this company at some point. And here we are 3 years later. And she's like one of the best wrestlers in the world, regardless of gender, regardless of what country she's from. I think she's really, grown into the role of being not just the champion of Stardom, but the ace of Stardom. Like, she's kind of replaced, finally they found a replacement for Io Shirai in Utami Hayashishita.
I think so. And I think what was so symbolic of this match was now she has her rival. And I think that with like that, when they do the rematch, like, I think that has the ability, like, that's going to have so much more attention than this first one. And I think they have to be very strategic of when they do it and really getting the word out there when they do this rematch, because I think it will be perceived as a big deal. Like, when you go back and trace the explosion of New Japan from that first Okada Omega match, and it only grew with the subsequent matches. I mean, it's a smaller scale, but they have something here that when they go to that second match, it's like you have your ace, but now you also have their foil that people are really invested in. It just seems like Stardom is really poised to do a lot this year, and now they have the eyeballs on them.
And the rest of the roster is amazing too. Like, I look at, Julia's doing wonders with the tag team she has with Syuri. They're the tag team champions of Stardom. You have like Natsupoi, who's doing great with the high speed belt. You have Tam Nakano, who's the white belt champion, the Wonder of Stardom champion. And I think she's really growing into that role. And she's got the upcoming match with, Saya Kamitani, who won the Cinderella tournament. And I think that'll be a fun match. Like, I just think there's so much depth to their roster, and it's just such an exciting product. It's the one promotion where I look at I can watch a show from Stardom, John, top to bottom, from the opening match to the main event. I enjoy it all. There's just like some quibbles I can make about, like, and criticisms I can make, but they're very minor quibbles. Whereas, like, I can punch holes straight through New Japan, All Japan, Noah, everything else. And it's like, this is what I like about these companies, but this is what I don't like about these companies. But I find very little of that with Stardom.
What did you and I have talked privately, but just how high does this match rank for you in your match of the year rankings? And this many weeks removed, what really stands the test of time in your memory of the match that really set it apart?
So it's my current match of the year. Like, this is the number one match of 2021 for me. What I think, the pacing. I just love the pacing of this match. It's like, it was perfect. Like, it never felt like the time that you look at this and it's 43 minutes total. And I mean, the pacing was perfect. It was perfect. Just the chemistry between these two. It's very reminiscent of like Misawa and Kawada. I really feel that with like Syuri being kind of the Kawada role against, Utami's Misawa, ace of the company. Just like so many of the moves like that they did that were kind of like the apron spots.
Oh my God. Yeah. The one like with like the wheelbarrow like backwards onto the edge of it. I mean, there was some brutal stuff in this match. I think that was, part of, the intensity of the match. There was like some brutal stuff involved.
I think that really adds to its appeal across the board with a lot of fans, in myself. But I think the thing, I'm really invested in Syuri, John. Like, she has become one of my favorite wrestlers, and I've been big on her since she joined the company because I was familiar with her in her independent stuff. And I think they have the potential to really bottle something with her and create like another like star that can be on the same level as Hayashishita, as Mayu Iwatani and Julia. And it's exciting to see if Stardom is able to do that with Syuri.
Yeah, I think, so much attention was on Utami, but, for Syuri Kondo, I mean, here's someone that, I mean, I was more familiar with her from the UFC than I was from like anything with wrestling, and like just where she has progressed to as well. I mean, that was really remarkable for this match as well, because she has such a believability factor that just instantly elevated the story that they were telling in this match. And you were able to bring out that aggressive side of Utami as well. It just seemed the two meshed so perfectly.
I mean, you look at Syuri Kondo with like her, legit MMA background. You look at what Shayna Baszler is doing on Raw, and it's quite a contrast, isn't it?
Well, Shayna Baszler is definitely closer to the Great Muta path of lighting something on fire and attacking Alexa Bliss with than Syuri might be. But who knows? Maybe Utami will pull out something, and we might go down that path.
Very unlikely. I think Shayna Baszler lighting her kick pad on fire and defeating an imaginary ghost doll is.
I could see that happening, actually, burning like Lily on fire, which I don't even know if you're up to date on Lily or not, but better.
Oh, I see all the gifs, John, and they make me laugh. I don't have to watch Raw. I don't get angry about this. It just makes me laugh, and like I laugh at all the Vincels, the WB defenders out there, like just defending this garbage, and it just brings me no end of amusement.
On the final bit here with Stardom, their next big show is next Sunday, where it's Utami defending the World of Stardom title against Natsuko Tora. Wonder of Stardom Championship match with Tom Nakano versus Saya Kamatani, who won the Cinderella tournament. And then the finals of the Future of Stardom tournament with Unagi Sayaka versus Mina Shirakawa as your top three matches.
Yeah, that should be like a great card. Like, I'm excited for all those matches. Like, the thing with Unagi and Mina is like they're the current Artists of Stardom champions with Tam, so they're like teammates. They're in the same faction, and they're championships. They hold the championship together, so that'll be an interesting match for the Future of Stardom title. But I'm really excited about Kamitani and like taking on Tam, because I think this is going to be a breakthrough match for her, and I think she's someone to keep an eye on. The only problem I have with Kamitani is, my God, she wears too many tassels, and they just need to, most of those, just like keep 2 or 3, but get rid of most of them, because they just like, I don't even think they're practical, John. Like, she could get tied up doing those, like doing her Phoenix Splash, and one of those things get tangled, she's fucked.
Feature editorial coming to postwrestling.com, The Hassle of Tassels by WH Park. This is not your first rant on tassels.
Don't joke, John. I might submit like an article for the website just titled just that, just for you.
You know what I have to dig up and repost is one of my favorites that we ever put on the site was you breaking down the best venues to watch wrestling in Japan. I love that article.
Well, you know what? Like, I might have, if I ever go back to Japan, John, and I get to go to the where is it, the place that FMW is going to hold their new
I almost forgot. We're going to chat about that.
The Syuri
follow up, the best places to watch in the Greater Toronto area.
I don't think that'd be a very comprehensive list, John.
You could start with Ted Reeve and just keep going.
I could just end with Ted Reeve as well, if you want.
Did you go to that show with the garbage strike, or you were still here for that? Did we all go to that together?
I was there. I went with Rob Conway, our friend Rob Conway, and I think that was the show where like Roderick Strong like chopped some fat fan who took his shirt off, and Roderick Strong was drunk and just started chopping him because he said, "Hey, Roddy, chop me," and so he did, and I thought that was kind of funny.
This was, for those that were not there in July of 2009, this was in the midst of a garbage strike, and one of the dumping sites was in the back of Ted Reeve Arena in the yard area, and you were inside, and dude, it reeked. It was so awful. I mean, it would have been more appropriate if we were at the Ricoh Coliseum for the play on words, but dude, it stunk. I remember Lance Storm was on that show. It was anyway, it was terrible that ROH has booked the Ted Reeve Arena and a garbage strike ends up happening, and here's one of the dumping sites.
Well, I think I was able to cleanse the palate, as it were, by going to the Danforth with Rob, and we got some like gyros. So it wasn't a total wash as far as the night goes for me. So
yeah, but everyone probably felt like having a wash after attending.
Probably, yes.
Yes, the FMWE debut takes place on Sunday at Sushi Onita. All exploding barbed wire insanity on this show. Tell us about FMWE, WH.
Yeah, it's, Atsushi Onita was like inspired by Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley and that epic explosion at the end of their match. And he just said, well, fuck, I got to do a whole promotion of this shit again. Right. So
why stop at one?
Why stop at one? Let's have he's also looking at, WWE booking the Hell in the Cell and thinking, I can just do a whole card of like exploding barbed wire death matches. Why not? So he's going to hold it at probably what's likely to become the number one venue on the revised article I do, John, the Tsurumi Fruit and Vegetable Market, located at 2-14-2 Komaoka, Tsurumi-ku, Yokohama City, in Kanagawa Prefecture. I'm fucking going to this place. John, me away. We go back to Japan. We have got to book it around a show at the fucking Tsurumi Fruit and Vegetable Market.
This sounds amazing. You would be at this show, would you not, if you were back in Japan?
You know what? Just to go to this venue, yes. Otherwise, I don't really care because I hate fucking barbed wire death matches, explosions, whatever. That doesn't interest me. But just to go to this fruit market, just to see what this setup is like, yes, I would go to this show.
Are you going to watch this show?
In some way, yes, probably. Like, just to see, I got to see what this venue looks like, John. Like, I'm obsessed with venues. I got to see what this thing looks like.
Yeah, I have a curiosity to watch this show. I don't know what the quality is going to be, but it definitely has this thing is accomplishing exactly what I think it is setting out to do, of just piquing people's curiosity to see what the hell this is. And maybe that's just going to be a novelty view and nothing more beyond one show. But for one show, I'm interested.
I just want to know, like, at what point people who are actually legitimately interested in seeing a whole show of exploding barbed wire death matches, at what point they're just going to get burned out. Not literally, I hope, but you know what I mean? Like, just
very
like,
nice.
I'm done with this shit. Like,
I think you're underestimating how many people out there do have that interest.
But then my other question that I have, John, is how many people who saw the amazing end of the Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley match are going to tune in to watch this thinking, I want more of that.
Well, they've got their faith in Atsushi Onita to deliver what the ending of that pay-per-view could not. So we will find out if there will be explosions on the 4th of July at the fruit market in Japan.
I'll tell you one thing that's going to be exploding is my DNA as I'm going to get my second shot of Pfizer, John.
Oh, when are we on deck for shot number 2?
Sunday, July 4th.
Oh, you're going July 4th. All right. Well, we're closer and closer, WH. We will have a live in-person post-PURORESU before all too long.
Oh, that would be amazing. Like our good friend, our mutual friend, Davey Portman came by to visit me the other day at work. And we were just talking about like, hey, we should do something at the new BDE. And I've been there, John. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah, give us a little rundown, an unbiased view of the new establishment that Braden and Davey are occupying.
First of all, the area is like, it's harborfront. It's amazing. And the view from like their apartment, fucking great. And it's just really laid out really nicely. So much better than the original BDE, the basement apartment. It's just like more, it feels bigger because it's actually got windows. And I think that the lads have done a really good job decorating it. It really reflects their personalities, I think. And the setup where they do the recordings, aces, really great. I don't know if it's as good as the setup in your basement, John, but it's pretty close to there. And I got to say something about Davey Portman's cooking. It's fucking great.
Well, I mean, the man has many talents. He
does.
Goes without saying. Yes. Long live the, or maybe not the old BDE, which I have been to the old, BDE. I'm glad to see them moving up. Windows are a nice luxury to treat yourself to.
Well, apparently Davey doesn't have working blinds, so I think he's getting tired of the windows in his bedroom apparently, because like all he does is get, sunlight at 7 a.m. and he wants to sleep in or something like that.
Well, fame comes at a cost.
Yes, it does.
Before we wrap up here, I did want to give you a public praise for your latest edition of The Long and Winding Royal Road, where you and Case Lowe went through the career of one Kenta Kobashi. This show was excellent. I really enjoyed how thorough this was, and just going through such a pivotal figure in wrestling history, not just Japanese wrestling history, but man, it is an unbelievable career when you have it all chronicled together in a 2.5 hour podcast of like what this guy did. And, sadly, it's kind of like the last 15 minutes of the podcast where you two are kind of going over kind of when the bill comes due for the physicality that he put himself through and stuff that he had no control over, as well, health wise. I mean, it was, he's gone through a lot, but this was a guy that absolutely gave his body to this. And it's a remarkable body of work, that he has. But, this is just a terrific show that I would encourage people to go to the archives and check this one out, along with the others on, Mitsuharu Masawa, Toshiaki Kawada, and I guess your favorite of all has to be down the pipeline with Akira Taue.
Listen, John, don't slander Akira Taue. He was my least favorite for the longest time. Like, I just understand why he's with these other three, but I have gained a great appreciation for the greatness that is Dynamic T, Akira Taue. This guy is such an amazing wrestler, and I can't wait to actually dive deep into his career and present what I find with
it'll probably be the most eye-opening. Like, everyone's going like Kawada, Masawa, Kobashi. It's like what is there. I think with Taue, I think his legacy has strengthened as the years have gone on.
Oh, definitely. And then after Taue, it's going to be Jun Akiyama. Then I'm going to do one on Jumbo. Then I'm going to do one on Stan Hansen. And you know what? The big one's going to be, John. I've decided I'm going to do one on Giant Baba.
Oh, wow. That would be that's something.
So like I have the guest I have in mind for that is probably going to be the perfect person for that. I won't say, I don't want to spoil anything, but thank you, John. I really appreciate you saying that. Like, so I've gotten a lot of good feedback from that episode, and I really like doing these. These are fun. And to do one on Kobashi, who is like I always say Kawada is my favorite of the four pillars because I think his story is the most compelling of the four, but Kobashi is probably my favorite pro wrestler of all time. He's always lurking in the top three. It's like he's up there with and the other persons like that tend to be floating in around there is like Ricky Steamboat and who else is like Bret Hart. So like he's in pretty good company in my opinion.
Just not enough to, if it's your last night in Japan, you're not going to go for ramen from Kawada.
Well, that was you. It wasn't my last night in Japan. It was your last night in Japan. But apparently we didn't miss much, but
I think we made the right choice.
I think there's going to be a point where you and myself, at the very least, will make a return to Japan to do something and maybe throw in more tourism as opposed to wrestling this time. And then hopefully Way's joining us and maybe the Murray clan will join us. Who knows? We'll see what happens.
Could you imagine? Well, based on, where they're going, I mean, if we ever get to the point where New Japan's doing monthly stadium shows, we'll have no shortage of options to pick where we could base it around like a big New Japan event.
We should do a G1 finals. Seriously. Like, I think you've done the Tokyo Dome, you've done Wrestle Kingdom. Let's do the G1 finals. Let's go to Budokan Hall.
I think Tokyo Dome's, it's a cool venue to like check off the list. It's hardly the most desirable venue to go watch a wrestling event in.
Yeah. Budokan Hall, John, and Korakuen.
Budokan, I would love to go to. Budokan would be something.
And if we can do Dominion, my God, let's go to Osaka Joe Hall. You would love Osaka Joe Hall. It's fucking great.
Well, the world is slowly opening up, so I hope to one day get back there. But you will be getting back to all of us here at postwrestling.com next weekend with the return of the long and winding Royal Road. And for next week's show, you are going back to October of 1999.
That's right. October 23rd, 1999. The All Japan Pro Wrestling World Tag Team Championships are on the line. It's the team of the Untouchables, the champions, Mitsuharu Misawa and Yoshinari Agawa, taking on the team of Burning, Kenta Kobashi and Jun Akiyama in a classic battle for the All Japan World Tag Team Championships. And joining me is Post Wrestling's show reviewer, Mark Buckledy, and he does a great job on this show. I to pull back the curtain, John, I've already recorded this show.
Well, I look forward to it. Two great voices out there to chat about a historic tag match where, in fact, nothing will actually be burning in the match. So that's a good thing.
Well, besides the imaginary, the metaphorical hammer, nothing actually physically burns. No.
You can also catch WH every Thursday evening. The show's dropped with MCU Later with WH and Wei Ting as they are going through the ongoing Loki series. We are 3 episodes in, and you've got 3 more to go. How do you like the 6 episode run that we've got for Loki? It's like minimal investment.
I think it's fine. I think, like the story they're trying to tell it seems like it's being perfectly paced to peak at number 6. And I'm looking forward to going on the ride. I know you've been listening to you and Wei. You've been enjoying the show, like the actual TV show. Did you watch this week's, John? Have you listened to the podcast
I've not
yet?
seen. I am way behind on so much stuff, but episode 3 is on my to watch list. I've been enjoying it so far. To me, WandaVision I really loved WandaVision. I don't know if anything is going to necessarily hit my enjoyment of that series. But I'm enjoying this more than Captain America.
You mean the Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, fair enough. I think it depends like where your kind of tastes lie. But let me know what you think about the rant I go off on about moviegoers, John. When you listen to the new podcast.
Okay. Just not hearing it. I would imagine that you and me I would imagine you and me are like-minded people when it comes to moviegoers, but I've not heard your rant, so I don't want to co-sign blindly.
Well, I mean, I just want to know if you don't have to agree with the opinion. I just want to know if you enjoy the rant.
I promise you I will enjoy the rant. When you are in rant mode, I have my popcorn ready and I'm all set.
I wasn't even planning on it. It's just like Wei brought it up and it just triggered something in me.
Do you think you will be seeing a movie in the near future?
Yeah, I do. I really, you know what? Here's the thing, talking with our good friend Deathmatch Richard, aka Benno, I was thinking, if we can work it out, we should go see F9 together. I
would like to see it. I'm mentally getting into the headspace of going to a movie theater. I'm not quite there yet, but I feel like it's a higher probability now. It's like, it's only in my like weirdness now of like not going to a movie in like 2 years.
Oh, I totally feel you. Like I saw Tenet when I was still in Japan, but that was weird. And like, I've not felt at all comfortable seeing a movie in Toronto, but like, hopefully I too get over that mental hurdle and maybe you and I can see something together, seats apart, wearing masks and feel safe to that degree. And then maybe just to pull back the curtain a bit here, John, like the reason I bring up Benno is because he really wants to do an F9 review with us.
I want to do it too. I just want to be able to, I do want to see this one in the theater and it's I'm not even up to date. Like what is the status right now of movie theater? Like what phase do movie theaters open here?
I don't know. Like, I honestly, I'm more interested in trying to get a haircut, to be quite honest with you. But I imagine, like, with like limited capacity, you could do it in phase 2, maybe. I think it really depends, like, how like low the numbers for hospitalizations go and how high the numbers for vaccinations go. Like, we'll see what our esteemed premier decides.
Well, TikTok, we're slowly moving here in Canada. But WH, it's always great to catch up with you. Everyone can give him a follow at WH Park 9. That's the number 9, to follow all of the latest and greatest from WH Park. You can catch him MCU later every Thursday for Post Wrestling Cafe members. And then next Sunday, the long and winding Royal Road dropping with guest Mark Buckledy as they chat Mitsuharu Misawa and Yoshinari Ogawa versus Jun Akiyama, Kenta Kobashi from October 23rd, 1999, which if you Google that may in fact bring you to a video.
It may. Yes. I'm working on having someone make that accessible. That's all I'll say about that.
One thing that is not a long or winding Royal Road is the online accessibility of All Japan's greatest matches. I mean, it's a pretty short road to get to the destination.
Not everything is online for free access, but if you know the right people, John, you can make things available for your listeners out there. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, with that said, we are going to bid everyone a farewell. Thank you for listening to this month's edition of Post Pro Res, and we will speak with you in the not too distant future.